Hello, friends. It is so good to see you here and to know that you're on the other side of that lens. You may have seen my blog post from yesterday, in which I reflected on the fact that I realized I had this unique perspective on our current confinement. Because, as some of you know, I have spent the past 4.5 years engaging and working with and seeing on a weekly basis the world's leading experts on thriving while confined. And so I have learned so much from them that I wish to share that with you. And of course, who knows more about confinement and how to survive and to thrive in it than our world's prison population? And so my commitment to you is that every day this month, I will share with you a little tidbit, a little lesson that I learned from the prison residents that I believe can truly help us survive and thrive in this time of confinement. And today, it starts in Thailand, where I was just 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was about the time, actually it was a little earlier, that countries started shutting down their borders, urging their citizens to come back to the country or to be locked up for the foreseeable future, locked out for the foreseeable future. And some countries gave their citizens 24 hours notice, shutting down their airports afterwards, which is why we still have 2 fellows that are currently stranded in Thailand. Now, the anxiety and the fear and the apprehension that existed in our space at that point skyrocketed. And it was palpable. I thought that I could cut it with a knife. And my guess is that many of you have experienced that same fear and anxiety in your moving through the current and daily announcements and how things are changing. And if there's something that prison residents understand well, that's fear. Because from the moment they step into prison, they are so afraid. They are afraid because the world that they're stepping into is completely unknown to them and is governed by the set of rules set by the system, as well as a set of unwritten rules. And not abiding to the set of rules of the system means a write-up or a trip into what they call administrative segregation or the hole. But not abiding to the second set of rules can lead to being killed. And I remember this one young man, 19-ish years old, stepping onto the yard, and met him on the yard one day when he just arrived a few days before. And I remember seeing the sheer terror in this young man's eyes. I don't know how much of that was due to the stories he had heard about prison, and how much of that was due to what he had already experienced and what he might have been a victim to in prison. But I know the terror that I saw. And I believe that that's true for most prison, if not all prison residents, when they show up on that yard. And most prison residents have the story that the situation is happening to them. They are victims of how their trial was conducted. They're victims of, let's say, the public defender and how he or she didn't do this or that in the trial, and it would have been a completely different outcome if they had done it. They're victims to the aggression of the correctional officers and how dare this person treat me in the way that he or she did. They're victims of the food that they eat. They're victims of the other residents around them. Everything is happening to them. They're blameless, and they are the victims of this situation. And then there's some prison residents who, at one point in their incarceration, start realizing that this situation is actually happening for them. So instead of thinking that the food is a problem that is happening to them, and how dare they have such poor food that they have to eat that day, they'd start seeing the gratitude of having food, and then start having the creativity from there. That opens up the field of possibilities of seeing the fact that they can actually augment their food and turn it into something that might be more palpable to them. Instead of seeing that they are constrained on the prison yard in whatever way that might be, they start seeing the fact that while they might not be able, I'm going to make this up, go in this part of the prison yard, they actually have complete freedom in this other part of the freedom yard, of the prison yard. Yeah. They start realizing that while they may not be able to be there for their mother's birthday, they can still celebrate that birthday in a really powerful and meaningful way and make their mother feel like $1,000,000. That's the difference between feeling a situation is happening to us versus feeling a situation is happening for us, which is why so many of the prison residents feel that prison has actually saved their lives. Now, like I wrote yesterday, let's be clear, they would all prefer being out free walking on the streets. But they also recognize that it is in that environment that they were compelled and forced to experience something completely new. The constraints of that environment, the difficulty of that environment, forced them to break away from their comfort zone, enabled them to start realizing that there might be another way, particularly when they observed a few of their fellow prison residents who had already done this journey. And that allowed them to create a new reality for themselves. Because as they start releasing the fears that have absolutely ruled their thoughts and their actions and their words and their behaviors, it creates this new space for other things to start showing up and for seeing the opportunity and the gift in any situation. And so, before moving on, I'll just add that I believe that what makes a difference for the prison residents between those that stay stuck, those that survive, and those that thrive is their speed in recognizing that this situation has a hidden or not so hidden opportunity in it. And then to be nimble and to adapt to the existing constraints. So instead of fighting against those constraints, to actually start looking inside the constraints and see where is the light, where's the opportunity, where's the gift. And so with that, I invite you to take the first step on this journey. And to do so by asking yourself, when it comes to your daily circumstances right now, how much are you living from a place that this is happening to you? And how much are you living from a place that this is happening for you? And as a support on that recognition, I invite you to actually take a moment to reflect on what are the proofs that this situation is happening for you. So I've already heard stories of families talking about that they are having more family dinners and better conversation that they've had in a long time. Many people are connecting over Zoom with friends more readily and with friends they haven't spoken to in years for some of them. Some are recognizing the space for rest and the need for rest and taking the space to rest. And some are seeing that there's a space to follow through on some project that they've put to the side for a while. Whatever that may be, big or small for you, take a moment to recognize them. You can do so in your own reflection. But if you are with your family, I invite you to do this as a family practice. Like many people do gratitude practices. Take a moment to reflect what today has shown to you that this situation is happening for you. And see what comes of that. No attachment. I appreciate hearing what might come of this. I would love to hear what is happening for you right now in the comments that you are free to share. Thank you for listening, and I will see you tomorrow.